States
Is
because
that
of
deal
what I
coming
did.
soon?
Yeah, that'll come soon.
Now, in a related development, the US Supreme Court has decided to keep in place its block on President Donald Trump's deportation of Venezuelan migrants under a 1798 wartime law called the Alien Enemies Act, citing lack of adequate legal process. In a brief unsigned opinion, the court sided with the American Civil Liberties Union, which argued that migrants were being removed without sufficient notice or the opportunity to challenge their deportation. The decision prompted a sharp reaction from President Trump, who took to social media to criticize the court's ruling. He called it a bad and dangerous day for America, claiming that the Supreme Court is blocking him from doing what he was elected to do. Trump argued that the ruling will make it harder to deport migrants who, he claims, have committed crimes. In a separate development, a federal judge expressed frustration at the Trump administration for failing to provide adequate details about its efforts to return a man who was wrongly deported to El Salvador. U.S. District Judge Paula Sinis said the government has not provided sufficient information from top officials on how it plans to comply with her order to facilitate the return of Kilmar Albrado Garcia. We're now joined by Jim Rice, Professor of International Law, located in Vigan, the Philippines. Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Jim. This spat between Donald Trump and the American legal system has been ongoing now, but how significant is this Supreme Court decision to uphold the blocks on under the Alien Enemies Act?
Thanks for having me on, Thomas. Your summary was just excellent. I think you really covered all of the points. I've just had a chance to read the decision very, very quickly. It was a 7-2 decision, which was unsigned, and the dissenting justices were, of course, Thomas and Alito. In terms of its significance, the court has held the line by upholding the right of every American or every person in the United States to due process. And in response, of course, Trump and his supporters would say that he was elected to carry out his agenda and remove people from the United States who they label and smear as being gang members and terrorists. But the fact of the need for their right to due process is to determine whether they are guilty of crimes in the first place or whether they're innocent people. So the court, once again, has done its job by holding the line.
Jim, what have you thought of Donald Trump's ongoing battles with the courts of America, spiraling from the bottom courts all the way to the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court? I mean, there are 6 conservative judges on the Supreme Court right now out of a set 9, who hold the post for life, 3 of which have been appointed by Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is seen to have disagreed with them and taken things into his own hands. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump disregarding the checks and balances of the American judiciary?
Well, again, that's an excellent question. And in my view, as a legal scholar, what Trump is trying to do is to try and transform the United States from being a rule of law country into being a country, of rule of men. He's trying to substitute himself and his own commands for that of the Constitution. And this is not what the founding fathers, what the authors of the Constitution, or, by the way, any other president up until the present time has had in mind. And so what Trump is trying to do is nothing less than to upend the rule of law, which is the very foundation of the United States itself.
Jim, we've seen this happen, particularly in regards to the issue of deportations, these judges blocking certain actions, but Trump still carries on anyway. We've seen the fact that Kilmar Albrado Garcia, the man who was wrongly deported to El Salvadorian prison, CCOT, they've told him to return this man who was wrongly deported. Yet the Trump administration has admitted its mistakes, but still won't facilitate the return of the man. How can a executive power that's supposed to be checked by the two other branches of the US government continue to bypass the other two branches?
Well, again, you're absolutely right. And the only thing one can say is what Trump is trying to do, but it's very obvious by his tweets or his social media comments, is that he's trying to discredit the judiciary, trying to weaken the judicial branch, and trying to substitute himself a kind of a one-man dictatorial rule. And this is very dangerous. And, you know, not to editorialize, but this is not in keeping with American governance for the past 250 years.
And Jim, this isn't normal, I take it, for a president to disregard a Supreme Court ruling like Donald Trump has been doing during this second tenure of his presidency.
Well, no, it's not. Again, looking forward, there's another case before the Supreme Court regarding Trump's very first executive order, which he signed, which basically terminates the right to birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. And even though the Constitution is very, very clear, all persons born in the United States are United States citizens. And even though this case was reinforced in the 19th century by another Supreme Court decision, Trump is trying to upend 250 or 150 years of constitutional law.
Jim, obviously you're in the Philippines right now, but if I'm not wrong, you're originally from the United States.
That's correct.
The fact that Trump is undermining the judiciary in the US, how does that play with public opinion, do you think? Do you think that the American people see these deportations as a superior matter to the integrity and the checks and balance that the American system has in it? Or do you think that, is that what you think is more of a priority, that this promise of the biggest deportation effort in US history?
Well, again, I've written about this previously. As for what most Americans think, I'm not an expert on polls. I don't believe that this is popular, and I believe that over time, as more and more cases are coming out, like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and like the most recent case of the young child who was a U.S. citizen, was deported to Mexico with her entire family, and she was a cancer victim, and the deportation robbed her of the chance to get her medications. So as more and more Americans find out about these draconian measures and the effect that it's having to real human beings who are not, by the way, criminals and terrorists, as Pam Bondi of the Justice Department is wrongfully claiming, as more people are finding out that although they may be undocumented persons, they are not the kind of criminals that Trump is making them out to be. They're hardworking people who are just trying to get by.
Jim Rice, thank you very much for joining us. You are staying with us while we move